ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। हरिः ओम्। It is a prayer, one of the oldest prayers known to mankind, where we pray that this interaction should energize us both, nourish us both, enlighten us both. And for all this to happen, we should have a harmonious interaction. With that prayer, I go into the topic. Believe in yourself. These are Swami Vivekananda's own words. Believe in yourself. I will quote extensively from Swamiji because it is nice to hear Swamiji's own words. And then we can see how we can understand it. I quote Swamiji. Throughout his lectures, Swamiji has repeatedly drawn attention to this one idea, believe in yourself. And it is also the message of the scriptures, the Upanishads, the Gita. I quote Swamiji. What we want is this Shraddha. The word used in our culture is Shraddha. All positive elements, positive attitudes. Because there is no English word for exactly which can translate Shraddha. We can say all the positive mindset, outlook, attitude. Anything that is totally positive, the cumulative of all the positive things. One English word we probably could use is faith. Faith in myself. What we want is this Shraddha. Unfortunately, it has nearly vanished from India. And this is why we are in our present state. What makes the difference between man and man is the difference in this Shraddha and nothing else. Please note this statement. What makes the difference between man and man is the difference in this Shraddha and nothing else. What makes one man great and another weak and low is this Shraddha. My master, that is Sri Ramakrishna, used to say, he who thinks himself weak will become weak, and that is true. This Shraddha must enter into you. Whatever of material power you see manifested by the Western races is the outcome of this Shraddha, because they believe in their muscles. And if you believe in your spirit, how much more will it work? Believe in that infinite soul, the infinite power, which, with consensus of opinion, your books and sages preach. That Atman, that infinite soul, infinite power, the word we commonly use is Atman. That Atman, which nothing can destroy, in it is infinite power only waiting to be called out. Knock on the door and it shall be opened. It is inside. You have to just tap, ask for it, and manifest it. I continue. Therefore, this Shraddha is what I want, what all of us here want, this faith in ourselves. And before you is the great task to get that faith. The task before us is to get this faith in oneself. Give up the awful disease that is creeping into our national blood. That idea of ridiculing everything, that loss of seriousness. In Bengali, we have a thing called yarki. Some people get into this habit. They make fun of everything. They think it is a very cool thing. That mind will slowly lose the capacity for serious thinking. Even in very deep and noble and very powerful things, they will miss the essence because their mind is working only at the superficial level, trying to make some smart remarks. We come across such people. Swamiji is telling, give that up. The loss of seriousness, give that up. Be strong and have this Shraddha, and everything else is bound to follow. Another place, Swamiji says, for centuries, people have been taught theories of degradation. They have been told that they are nothing. The masses have been told all over the world that they are not human beings. They have been so frightened for centuries till they have nearly become animals. Never were they allowed to hear of the Atman. We can see our own country, how the caste system, the wrong application, understanding of caste system downgraded our own fellow human beings. They have been so frightened for centuries till they have become animals. Never were they allowed to hear of the Atman. So Swamiji says, let them hear of the Atman, that even the lowest of the low have the Atman within, which never dies, is immortal, without beginning or end, all pure, omnipotent, omnipresent, Atman. Imagine a king or the president and the beggar on the street. Such a huge difference. But inside, they are same. Even if you take the body, the constitution of the body is the same. The quality may differ. Mind, it is the same. But the functioning will differ. But innermost essence, it is same. Because it is consciousness. Let them have faith in themselves. Now, one more point Swamiji is making here. What makes the difference between the Englishman and you? Swamiji is speaking when we were ruled by the English. So he is asking these young Indians for listening to him. What makes the difference between the Englishman and you? I have found the difference. The difference is that the Englishman believes in himself and you do not. He believes in his being an Englishman and he can do anything. That brings out the God within him and he can do anything he likes. You have been told and taught that you can do nothing, and non-entities you are becoming every day. Swamiji warns some parents who say you are good for nothing, you will never succeed in life. They mean well, but they put it in a very negative way. The child probably will realize that. What we want is strength. So believe in yourselves. We have become weak, and that is why occultism and mysticism come to us. These creepy things. Swamiji calls occultism, mysticism, creepy things. People always look for miracles. And when you start looking for miracles, you will find such people. They will be tying threads, 4 or 5 threads on their wrist, 2 or 3 rings on their finger, 2 or 3 chains across their neck. They are hoping and they have faith that these stones and these threads will help them to succeed in life. There may be great truths in them. Swamiji says, yes, there may be some truth in them, but they have nearly destroyed us. Why? We have lost faith in ourselves. Our faith now is in a stone or in a thread. Make your nerves strong. What we want is muscles of iron and nerves of steel. Swamiji's very famous quote. What we want is muscles of iron and nerves of steel. Elsewhere, Swamiji is quoting again. I quote Swamiji. Faith in themselves was in the hearts of our ancestors. This faith in themselves was the motive power that pushed them forward and forward in the march of civilization. And if there has been degradation, degeneration, if there has been defect, mark my words, you will find the degradation to have started on the day our people lost this faith in themselves. Losing faith in oneself means losing faith in God. Believe, therefore, in yourselves. And if you want material wealth, work it out. It will come to you. If you want to be intellectual, work it out on the intellectual plane. And intellectual giants you shall be. If you want to attain to freedom, work it out on the spiritual plane, and free you shall be and shall enter into nirvana, the eternal bliss. Now, Swamiji makes another very famous quote. He is an atheist who does not believe in himself. Atheist is one who does not believe in God. But here Swamiji is telling, he is an atheist who does not believe in himself. The old religions said that he was an atheist who did not believe in God. The new religion says that he is the atheist who does not believe in himself. But it is not selfish faith. Selfish faith, that's not what Swamiji wants. Because the Vedanta, again, is the doctrine of oneness. Please note this point. Faith in oneself, what does it mean? It means faith in all. Because you are all. We have discussed this in earlier classes. How I am one with the manifest world. Love thy neighbor as thyself, because he and I are one. Love for yourselves means love for all, love for animals, love for everything, for you are all one. It is the great faith which will make the world better. This dimension I'll touch in my talk. When we talk about having faith in myself, it also means faith in this world, including the fellow human beings. Do you know how much energy, how many powers, how many forces are still lurking behind that frame of yours? What scientist has known all that is in man? Millions of years have passed since man first came here, and yet but one infinitesimal part of his powers has been manifested. Therefore, you must not say that you are weak. How do you know what possibilities lie behind that degradation on the surface? You know but little of that which is within you. For behind you is the ocean of infinite power and blessedness. You have talked of reforms, of ideals, and all these things for the past 100 years. But when it comes to practice, you are not to be found anywhere, till you have disgusted the whole world. And the very name of reform is a thing of ridicule. What is the cause? Do you not know? You know too well. The only cause is that you are weak, weak, weak. Your body is weak, your mind is weak, you have no faith in yourselves. Centuries and centuries, 1,000 years of crushing tyranny of castes and kings and foreigners and your own people have taken out all your strength, my brethren. Your backbone is broken. You are like downtrodden worms. Who will give you strength? Let me tell you. Strength. Strength is what we want. And the first step in getting strength is to uphold the Upanishads and believe I am the soul. Why only Upanishads? It can be any other scriptures. Upanishads is the scripture which tells, have faith in yourself. The truth is inside you. The truth which you seek in the name of God is your own true nature. It doesn't ask me, believe in this God or believe in that prophet. Only then you will be saved. If you don't believe, you will be roasted in hell for eternity. That is not the message of the Upanishads. Upanishad says, discover the truth which is inside you. A guru only helps me to discover that truth. Why only Upanishads? Swamiji answers. Strength is what the Upanishads speak to me from every page. This is the one great thing to remember. It has been the one great lesson I have been taught in my life. Strength. It says, strength, O man, be not weak. Are there no human weaknesses? Says man. There are, say the Upanishads. But will more weakness heal them? Would you try to wash dirt with dirt? Will sin cure sin? Weakness cure weakness? Strength, O man, strength, say the Upanishads. stand up and be strong. Hey, it is the only literature in the world where you find the word abhi, fearlessness, used again and again. In no other scripture in the world is this adjective applied either to God or to man. Abhi, fearlessness. In general, we are taught, be afraid, be frightened of your sin, be afraid of God's wrath. Upanishads say, be fearless. Oh, then I may do wrong. No. When you discover your true self, you will never go wrong. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, an expert dancer will never have a misstep. Betal Podenai. So once you establish yourself in your inner true nature, you will never go wrong. I continue Swamiji's quote. And the more I read the Upanishads, my friends, my countrymen, the more I weep for you. For therein is the great practical application. It is not simply theory. Strength for us. Therefore, my friends, as one of your blood, as one that lives and dies with you, let me tell you that we want strength, and every time strength. And the Upanishads are the great mine of strength. Therein lies strength enough to invigorate the whole world. The whole world can be vivified, made strong, energized through them. They will call with trumpet voice upon the weak, the miserable, and the downtrodden of all races, all creeds, all sects, to stand on their feet and be free. Freedom, physical freedom, mental freedom, and spiritual freedom are the watchwords of the Upanishads. Unquote. That was a long quote I read to know what Swamiji says in his own words. The cure for all defects, all weaknesses, is to discover the strength within. It is not seeking outside. We may seek, but we should understand finally that strength comes from inside. It doesn't come from outside. If it is not there inside, whatever comes from outside will never be with us forever. If it is not already with me, if it is not already me, how can something which comes be with me forever? Anything which comes goes out also. My very true nature, my very nature is strength. That I have to discover. Then why have I forgotten it? It is because of my identification, wrong identification with body, mind, and ego. This discovering oneself is called self-discovery or self-realization. It is not meant only for monks or someone interested in spirituality. There is no difference in truth between spiritual and secular life. Life is one. When we try to discover this inner truth, it is called a spiritual life. And when I discover the inner truth and use that strength in all my activities, that is the best way to live this life. That is the ideal that Swami Vivekananda says was his ideal, to preach unto mankind their divinity and how to make it manifest in every moment of life. So when we are talking of believing in ourselves, it means primarily, in the first dimension, first sense, it means to believe that I can manifest strength, power in all my activities, in all the dimensions of my life. This is a first step. I have to believe that I can manifest strength and power. What kind of strength? Our scriptures, our tradition speaks of three kinds of strength. Bahubala, Buddhibala, Atmabala. Physical strength, intellectual strength, spiritual strength. Three strengths. Physical, intellectual, spiritual. Physical and intellectual we understand. We don't need to have a discussion on that. Body has to be strong. A strong body, a strong mind. Mind is a composite term which refers both to thinking and discrimination. Buddhi is part of that mind. What do we mean by Atmabala? Atmabala means strength of character, deriving from the unfolding of our true nature or our inner divinity. It is connecting with the inner source. I discover some dimension inside within me. And the more I open these coverings and discover my true nature behind the body, behind the mind, behind the ego, even when I start getting an inkling of that consciousness, then I will be established in dharma. That dharma is the universal law of harmony. This is not attained by reading scriptures. Sometimes people make a mistake. They think if we by heart the Gita, if I study the Upanishads and study all the commentaries, then I'll discover the truth. No, that's not what Swamiji is telling. Go and read all the Upanishads, by heart all the slokas, 700 slokas of the Gita. You may become a Pandit. It is to put into practice the message of the Gita. And what is the message of the Gita? You are the Atman, your consciousness. Discover it. Continuously. Swamiji says, day and night, just tell yourself, yes, I am this body, I am this mind also. I am having this sense of ego, I. But behind, there is something else watching all this. This constant reflection, a part of the mind, turning inside, so that I function from the deepest core of my personality. That is what the Upanishad tells you should do. If I go and sit in the forest next 30 years to discover myself, then my life will be totally different. And that is not practical. Swamiji says, this message should be given from the king to the cobbler, from the fisherman's, he says, bring it to the doors of the fisherman, the ironsmith. Let them practice this. So it is not that you have to give up what you are doing, your householder's life, whatever profession you are practicing, in that you can practice this. Exactly how to do this as a spiritual practice, that is not in this talk. We'll see it some other day. Now, when Swamiji says you have to believe in yourself, I have this theoretical understanding. There is a consciousness. I don't understand it, but these rishis and all the scriptures tell you don't end with your death. Your physical death is not the end of you. There is something else which continues to live. And that they call it soul or consciousness. We call it Atman. Now it is just a theory for me. I begin with the Shraddha, faith in the scriptures, faith in the Guru. Because it is something I don't know, but they say this is what we have discovered. It is not that someone came and told me. These are people who have discovered it. The rishis are scientists. I begin with that faith. Then how do I practice it in my everyday life? Is it enough to simply tell, I have faith in myself, I am an Atman? In everyday activity, how does this come out? Suppose a student is asked to volunteer for an event or a short project, and it is something which he has never done before. If the student does not believe in himself, he will think, I have never done such a thing, I don't think I'll be able to do it, and I may become a fool in front of everyone. Why invite trouble? Let me refuse. He may refuse. Many students do this. If they're asked to volunteer for something, they are not very eager. Only a few are eager for it. Now, by refusing to try out a new thing, the student is losing a little bit of his faith in himself. He will not understand it, but a little bit of faith in himself is lost. And every time he refuses to take up a challenge, he keeps losing a little bit of faith in himself. Slowly this accumulates. It becomes a tendency. Such people, they prefer to live in comfort zones. They have a comfort zone. It may be a way of life, the food they eat, the way they do things. Change a little, they are upset. They're imbalanced. Because something new is a challenge and they're not ready to take that challenge. I have taken once, I have worked out a routine, I have worked out a way of living. That is enough for me. They cannot take a new thing, especially as people grow older, they don't want to change. Mindset is fixed, their life is fixed. It is on a track which goes continuously. Any new thing they see as a danger, a fear. But if one has faith in himself, he will say, I will learn it. One of our very senior Swamis, he's a vice president now. I saw him start learning computer at the age of 74. A young Swami was teaching him how this is a mouse, this is a keyboard, this is how to have to learn to use this. He never has to learn a computer because there are so many people ready to do things for him. But he said, no, I would like to learn this. That mindset which says, I can learn. We may age in the body, but we should never age in the mind. When I have belief in myself, I say, yes, I can try this. Let me try. That is a positive mindset. Now, again, if a student, he thinks, I will write this exam with my lucky pen. It will help me to do well in my exam. Really, there are students who believe that. They want the same place to sit and write their exam, same kind of board, same kind of pen. Now, what is the student doing? He is believing in superstition. And every time he believes in such a superstition, he is losing faith in his hard work and his competence, his capabilities. Give me any pen. It is not the pen which writes. It is my buddhi which writes. And my hand, I have practiced writing. I can write very fast. Legible handwriting. I have practiced it. I will give a good exam. That faith in me will be lost if I have faith in a superstition. This thread, this sacred thread, or this lucky pen will help me. So that is the way we lose faith in ourselves. Now, strength, we should always remember, it is not, the moment we say strength, we usually think of physical strength or the strength of money, or strength of people, janabala, dhanabala. Now, those are not real strengths. Today you have, tomorrow you don't have. You're out of power, nobody cares for you. And money is with you today, tomorrow it is in someone else's pocket. And now this lockdown period, we have seen so many people, they are struggling because the money is coming down. The inflow of money has come down. Many have lost their jobs. So your dhanabala is not going to stay with you forever. So what we mean strength is, of course, sharirika bala, that is bahubala, and buddhi bala, which is your intellectual strength, and then atma bala. In practice, we should also keep this in mind. Strength means self-restraint. Strength means unselfishness. Strength means forgiveness. There are so many dimensions to strength. We should not see it only as physical, masculine. Now, all this self-restraint, unselfishness, forgiveness, this is also strength. Now, this kind of a strength, it comes through a systematic effort, persistent effort. And such an effort involves struggle. Nobody says things come easy. You may inherit a property, but you cannot inherit strength. You have to build that strength, discover it, and build it for yourself. This struggle is called tapas. We have people, a Ravanasura or a Hitler, tremendous strength. Ravana was very powerful. Hitler physically not powerful, but he was able to rouse a whole country to accept his way of thinking. Millions of people followed him and lakhs of people died. So that was a different kind of strength. But that was a strength which was not rooted in Atma Bala. It was only Bahubala and Buddhi Bala. If these two strengths are only strengthened, then that person is not in tune with this universe. He is not doing good to the world. So my physical strength and my intellectual strength should be guided by my Atma Bala, my spiritual strength. This spiritual strength, not everyone is able to awaken. So we say, we follow a guru. We follow some scripture. There is no guru, there is a scripture for me, and scripture has told me, conduct yourself in this manner. A guru tells me, no, that is not the correct way to do. Don't do that. Think like this. Use your strength here. Don't harm him. So I have this idea that my buddhi bala and deha bala, left to themselves, can harm this world and in turn come back. It will come back to me. That harm comes back to me because we are all connected. So this strength is to be monitored and governed by the spiritual strength. There is a guru, there is a scripture, very good. They are only telling me, discover it within you. You have it within you. It is there. When the mind becomes pure, it starts functioning as our guru. And all this tapas, purifying the mind, is to that. If we do only tapas for physical strength, then we end up like a Hiranyakashipu or a Ravana. Give me a strength so that I can conquer this world and rule over other people. When I say I am doing this tapas to conquer myself, we become a Buddha. So strength requires tremendous conviction and tremendous enthusiasm. Now I said there are other dimensions to this believing in oneself. One is believing in my capacity to manifest strength in my everyday activities, and that strength stems from Atma Bala. It manifests in the Buddhi Bala and Bahubala, and in my everyday activities it manifests as a positive attitude. That is one dimension. The second dimension of believing in oneself or believing in myself is belief in my destiny. This is a subtle point we have to understand. What is this belief in my destiny? It is a mindset which will say, if even things are not working out for me, I will keep building on my skills and be ready whenever opportunity comes in future. This is the mindset. There are some people who go negative. They would like to manifest, but their attitude towards life is, no, mera bhagya theek nahi hai. Oh, my bhavishyat is not good. And they run to an astrologer. Please tell me what is my bhavishyat. If you are curious to know, that is something. But if you are hoping that the astrologer will change your bhavishyat and he will make things very grand for you, that is weakness. Yes, there is something waiting for me. Karma phala, the results of my own previous actions, they will come in the form of circumstances, events, situations, physical, mental, and environment around me. All that is shaped by my own previous karma. This is the phala of that karma. But how I respond to that, that is where I have free will. So those things may be predetermined, determined not by God or this world, determined not by some Satan. It is determined by my own previous actions. But even in that circumstance, with all those conditions, either favorable or unfavorable, I have the free will to choose my line of action, to choose what I think and feel. That in exercising that free will, I have strength. So when circumstances are not favorable to me, a man who has faith in his destiny, he will say, yes, things are not favorable now. Like now in this COVID pandemic lockdown time, things are not favorable for many people. So what do? You build on your core strengths. And you say, yes, an opportunity will come. One more opportunity will come. I'll be ready for it. If I go negative, an opportunity will come to everyone. Then if I am not ready for it, it will pass. Someone else will take that. One of our devotees, he lost his job here in Chennai. He has a small family. Recently he came, I asked, how are you managing? So he said, Maharaj, 2-3 days I was very disturbed. I didn't know what to do. I told the owner, you have the advance for 2 months. Please don't ask rent for 2 months. I will see what I can do. He is an initiated devotee. He said, I started doing japam 2 hours a day, which I have never done in my life. He told me a number he was doing. Not much, but that was a very big thing for him. He said, Maharaj, I said, let me have faith in God. And that faith in God helped him to be in a positive frame of mind. And it so happened, through some connection, with just a word around, he now has a job in an American bank. He shifted to Bangalore. He says, the position is not same, but the salary is much more than what I was getting. This positive mindset which says circumstances will always be there. Up and down is part of life. Life is a cycle, continuous up, down. You have things going in your favor and you have things going against you. In that time, you have to hold on. When circumstances are against us, we should focus on our strengths and wait for the tide to turn. Because no good work will ever go to waste in the large scheme of life. Whatever I have done now is into my account, good or bad. I may not have a fruitful manifestation in this life, but next life I will carry it forward. We see young children, we call them born genius, child prodigy. How did he learn that? It is what he has brought forward from his previous life. All the practice which he did in those previous lives, it is now manifesting now from a very young age. So nothing is going to be wasted. Salpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Whatever good thing or even bad thing you do, it stays with you. So now circumstances are not favorable, but I continue to struggle. I continue to build on my core strengths. Maybe learn new things. This is the positive mindset which says I have faith in my destiny because I am going to shape my destiny. And my destiny will be shaped with this attitude. I will face this, I will overcome it. The third dimension of believing in myself. First is belief in my strength, in my capacity to manifest the inner strength in all my activities, in all the dimensions of my life, physical, intellectual, atmabala, spiritual, that is the power of character. Second is having faith in my destiny. Third one, believing in others around me. Belief in myself will necessarily include believing in others around me. Swami Vivekananda says, I quote him, I have never failed in my faith in man in any case, even taking him at his worst. Wherever I had faith in man, though at first the prospect was not always bright, yet it triumphed in the long run. Have faith in man. Whether he appears to be a very learned one or a most ignorant one, have faith in man. Whether he appears to be an angel or the very devil himself, have faith in man first. And then, having faith in him, believe that if there are defects in him, if he makes mistakes, if he embraces the crudest and the vilest doctrines, believe that it is not from his real nature that they come, but from the want of higher ideals. That's why Swamiji says, never say anyone is lost, hopeless. Man is just a combination of his habits. You change the habits, the man is changed. And he can discover his true self. A Ratnakara will become a Valmiki. So every time we mistrust people's intentions, we lose faith in their capacity, or we dismiss someone based on their background, we are losing faith in mankind, which in turn will be losing faith in myself. I am also a human being. We have this tendency. Yes, there are people who cheat. So those who are cheated 2 or 3 times, they start distrusting everyone, mistrusting everyone. Someone says in your apartment, oh, I want to do this, let us do this and that. You may think, oh, this fellow is aspiring to be a secretary. That's why he is doing all this. Otherwise, why will he do this? That's the negative mindset. Swamiji says, have faith in the goodness of man. It is possible that without any matlab, someone wants to do good thing. If it has been my fate that I have met only people who have always had some selfish motive behind their work, that doesn't mean the whole mankind works like that. They are great souls. And if someone is manifesting that kind of a small-mindedness, it is not his true nature. Immense idealism with immense practicality. Swamiji says, I want this combination. Because we should not get confused and think everyone is a very noble soul, so let me listen to everyone. Yes, I know your innate potential is very true, divine. But what you are now manifesting is negative. And when you are manifesting negative, I would not like to mingle with you or listen to you. Tiger is also God, but that doesn't mean I'll go and embrace the tiger. So that kind of a practical sense also is required. The fourth dimension of believing in myself is believing in my nation. First is belief in myself. Second, belief in my destiny. Third, belief in the people around me, the whole mankind. And the last, belief in my nation. Because I live in a society. I have an identity in this human society. I have an identity. I am an Indian. I am an American. I am an Englishman. Whatever it is, I have faith in my country and the values it stands for. That faith, this is something Swamiji was particular because he saw these Indians, the reforming movement, which was just beginning in his time. Anything Indian they would dismiss. Oh, it is nothing. We became powerful only after the English came. Before that, we were very weak. We didn't have any good literature. We didn't have science. We didn't have this. We didn't have that. You start talking like that, slowly you will believe in that. And whatever your ancestors have discovered and they have given down, you lose faith in that. You lose Shraddha. Somebody says, this is what your modern education has done. It has taught you your father was a fool, your grandfather was a bigger fool. And you have lost faith in that. And there are people who come and tell, your religion is all wrong. You worship so many gods. Without even understanding the Upanishadic statement, these Upanishadic truths. And there is people who say, oh, is it so? Very good, then we'll shift over, we'll accept your religion. Why does he do that? Because he is ignorant of his own religion. That's why Swamiji says, take this truth, the truths of the Upanishads to the commonest people. They have been the masses which have been trodden down without giving them this life-giving message. The life-saving message has to be given to them. And Swamiji started this organization for doing that very thing. We have publications for the first time. Some of these scriptures were translated into vernacular. Orthodox people opposed it, but Swamiji had clearly told, this is a message for the whole mankind. Yes, they may misunderstand it. That doesn't mean you will deny it to them. Help them to understand. So have faith in this country that yes, there is a great destiny for my country. And what is that destiny? Swamiji says, that lies in its spiritual power. India has to be a blessing to this world because we have inherited this. It is the backbone, Swamiji says. Spirituality is the backbone of India. The life current of India has always been on the path of spirituality. Now, one example of such a person is Sister Nivedita, Swami Vivekananda's disciple, special disciple. She had immense belief in herself. Her whole life is a demonstration that she had faith in herself. She finished her education by 17, and by 25 she had already set up her own school where she tried several innovative ideas in teaching. From 17 to 25, she was a teacher, prolific writer, and an intellectual. He mingled with big intellectuals of her time in London, wrote in several newspapers, periodicals, interacted with big people like Thomas Huxley, George Bernard Shaw. He was involved in community work. She worked for the emancipation of orphans and coal miners. And at the age of 29, she met and accepted Swami Vivekananda as her guru, left England, and dedicated the rest of her life to the people of India. This was belief in herself, belief in her destiny. She came to India with a firm belief that she would be able to carry out her part in her guru's mission. Swamiji had written to her, you have the making of a world mover. Awake, awake, great one. In his letter, he had written it. On coming to India, she went through intense training with Swamiji. Deep struggle she had, mental and spiritual struggle, because she had to give up her baggage of preconceived ideas. Then she learned what it means to be an Indian, how to interact and live in the traditional Hindu society. Then she set up a school, convinced Orthodox parents to send their girls to school. She went and begged their parents, please send your daughter to school. The school had up and down, finance was a problem, but she always held on. She never lost faith in her mandate to reawaken India, and she worked for it. She also took it up that India will be awakening when she is politically free. So she participated also in the freedom movement. Rabindranath Tagore says about her, I quote, "We had not seen before an embodiment of the spirit of motherhood, which, passing beyond the limits of the family, can spread itself over the whole country." That's why he called her Lokamata. Then belief in others. She had total faith in the potentiality of those whom she became acquainted with. Women in her time, they saw themselves as small homemakers restricted to home. But Nivedita gave them a completely different vision. She showed them what women can have a role, a woman can have in the national consciousness, awakening it, and that they could become patriots and nation builders. Even while living at home, they can become patriots by training their children. And she wanted artists of India to revive the ideals of Indian art. She inspired all the upcoming artists of her time. One great artist, Asit Haldar, he writes, Nivedita told us that on us depended the revival of ancient Indian art, which was rapidly approaching extinction, and that the revival of national art would be our great contribution in the movement of national awakening and freedom. So this is the way she awakened faith in themselves, in artists, in everyone, whoever came in touch with her, like Subramanya Bharati, the great patriot poet of Tamil Nadu. One contact with Nivedita transformed him. He looked upon Nivedita as his guru. Now, belief in the nation. Nivedita went across the country and she was not apologetic, oh, India is like this, nothing. She was totally proud of India, total identification with India and pride in the heritage of India. She admitted that India had problems, but they were not such that Indians couldn't solve it themselves. In her own words, she says, the whole history of the world shows that the Indian intellect is second to none. This must be proved by the performance of a task beyond the power of others, the seizing of the first place in the intellectual advance of the world. Is there any inherent weakness that would make it impossible for us to do this? Are the countrymen of Bhaskaracharya and Shankaracharya inferior to the countrymen of Newton and Darwin? We trust not. It is for us, by the power of our thought, to break down the iron walls of opposition that confront us and to seize and enjoy the intellectual sovereignty of the world. This is just one example, one personality I give. But the main point is this. First listen, then think. Shravana, Manana. Think. We may be having a difficult time as a student, as a householder, whatever is our position in life, whatever be the circumstances, always remember, things will go up, things will go down. That strength will always be there inside me. I have to learn to tap it. This turning inside and discovering the source of strength is called spiritual life. It is not simply memorizing scriptures or doing some puja. You have faith in God, but that faith, somebody says, is really faith in yourself. Let us practice this. Let us take this message. We have to have faith in ourselves. You will have to work this out, how you will think. Listening to it is one thing. When you find you are trapped by your own samskaras, you are a spiritual sadhaka, you are struggling against some tendencies, you see there is weakness. How do you overcome that weakness? We have discussed this in earlier classes. A routine will help you. A fixed routine. And when I have invested strength, first there is a gradation there. Like one of our brahmacharis was asking, how do I struggle? Spiritual life is a struggle. But where do I struggle? What does the struggle mean? If you ask me to struggle with you in hand pushing, I know the struggle is here, I have to push it. But in spiritual life, where is this point where I have to hold and struggle? So this is what I told him. You see, morning you are expected to sit for meditation at 4 o'clock. So getting at 3:40, or 3:30 or 3:40 is a challenge for you. You have to struggle to get up every day. Every day you will get up. Come rain, come sunshine, whatever it is, you will get up at 4 o'clock. 3:30, 4 o'clock you will be in the shrine. This is the first step of the struggle. Second, you're coming and sitting and you're sleeping nicely. Also snoring. That happens. because you're not used to getting up at 3:30 and sitting for meditation at 4. You have been used to dreaming, have nice, sweet dreams at 4 o'clock. Now you're asked to meditate, do japam. You come and you struggle with your sleep. And before that, you struggle to sit. You're not used to sitting 1 hour. Your leg is aching, back is aching, head is aching, every part of the body is revolting. So the first struggle is to wake up, come to the temple every day. Second struggle is to sit 1 hour. The legs will say, now let me lie down. Back will say, put me down. I say, no, 1 hour I will sit. That is the struggle with the body. First is the struggle with the tamoguna. Second is the struggle with the physical level, body. Third, mind says, okay, you keep sitting, I will sleep. So I struggle with the mind to keep it awake. I say, no, you will not sleep. I will stay awake. Then, now I am awake, but the mind is restless. So I tell the mind, very good, you're not sleeping, but I don't want you to be restless. You will concentrate on the mantra. You will meditate now. So there is a graded way, even in our everyday life. You have to discover this for yourself. What is the challenge? Where is this weakness? Identify it and say, now how do I overcome it? A routine will help. Having a clarity in thinking will help. And then satsanga, people who are struggling and who have overcome that weakness. That company also will help. This talk is part of that. I hope you have some ideas. Please practice this for 1 week. You please reflect on this. Read Vivekananda, because here is a person who asks you to believe in yourself. He doesn't say, believe in my Guru Sri Ramakrishna, he will save you. He says, believe in yourself. Discover the truth. Weakness is not your true nature. Weakness is there in the body, in the mind, but that is not your true nature. You can convert it to strength. Strength is, as I told, self-restraint, unselfishness, forgiveness, all those dimensions. Unselfishness is God, he says. What does unselfishness in God mean? The moment you are unselfish, you are manifesting your divinity, inner divinity. That manifesting is strength. When I manifest unselfishness, I am manifesting strength. When I forgive someone, I am manifesting strength. When I have self-restraint, control over my senses, over my mind, vagaries of the imagination, I am manifesting strength. I should have faith in this, that I have this capacity. Capacity is there, potential is there. I have to work it out. How? Step by step. I told you how the brahmachari works it out. Get up early morning, go sit there, body will pain, no, sit 1 hour, then it will sleep, no, wake up, then it will wander around, no, now concentrate. There is a graded way. In your life, in whatever aspect of your activity or relationship, see the graded way in which you can manifest strength. Have that faith. It is there, it is possible. See how to work it out. Have faith in ourselves. Have faith in others. Have faith in our destiny. Have faith in our country. Have faith in the goodness of man. Thank you. Shri Ram.